Okay. So we were talking about chapter 13 and Kshetra and Kshetragya. So Bhagwan Krishna is telling Arjun basically that most people think about an individual as a composite. And we also think about ourselves as a composite, right? Those who haven't studied Vedanta like you guys have. We are a composite of this body, physical body, our mind, our soul, whatever that soul is, Atma, whatever it is. We are kind of a collection of all these things. Somehow we have some impression in our head that this Sangatha, this composite, is Sangatha in his body. And Krishna Bhagavan is saying, no, that's not true. Your body consists of two parts. One part is Kshetra, and one part is Kshetragya. One part of the body is that which is known, and one part of you is what which is known, and one part of you is the knower. That's how he said these are the two parts of any individual. So he said, what's the part that is known? Your body is known. You know your sharir, you know your hands, your feet, all the organs, you know those things. Then he says, even your mind is known, right? You know you're feeling bad, sad, whatever, angry, you know all that. You know some emotions. So that is Kshetra. Those are the things which are known. And Kshetragya is that which knows. So what is it inside you that knows? And that is Kshetragya. And that, Bhagavan Krishna says, is Atma, your Atma. Now, of course, as Sanjay pointed out last time, that is not strictly correct because Atma is not a knower. But for the purposes of conveying his message right now, because you don't want to get into this deep stuff of I'm not the knower kind of thing in the beginning, he's just saying, okay, let's just call it the knower or the witness or whatever we want to call it. So that's how he has introduced this subject. And then after saying this, the next sutra itself was the Mahavakya. So having said that my Atma is the knower, that means there's a part of me which is the knower, that's the real me, the Atma. And the rest of it is known. Then it's saying, I, Ishwar, am the knower in all the bodies. Right? So what does it mean? That what you think is your Atma which knows is nothing but Ishwar. So that is the Mahavakya. Tat Tvamasi. Aham Brahmasmi. Ishwar is Brahma. Right? So understood the concept of how the Mahavakya has been laid out? First, it divides between the knower and the known. It tells you are the knower. That's your Atma inside you. That's the real you. The body is just the known. And then it says, actually, I, Ishwar, am the knower in all the bodies. So there's only one knower, only one, which we can call it Atma, we can call it Brahman. That is the same as Ishwar. And your knower, that Rajiv, you think is the knower inside your body, and Sanjay, what you think is the knower inside your body, and what Mukta thinks is the knower inside your body, or I think, it's nothing but Atma. It's nothing but Ishwar. Okay? So it's a different way of saying the same thing. You can see how it'll invoke different muscles in your brain to think about it this way, a new perspective. But it's not saying anything new, it's saying the same thing. But it's a different feeling to say, okay, that me, the knower inside me, that is seeing everything, that is knowing everything, is nothing but Ishwar. You may not feel it, you may not that may not be intuitive to you right now, or to us, but that's what Krishna Bhagavan is telling us. That is Vedanta. Okay. Any questions so far on this? You get it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they are using a different terminology and a different angle to project the same thing.
Exactly.
So all this we have been learning, and basically comes to the same thing. Only the terms used are
Angles.
different.
I
To
think also another difference, Sanjay. Normally,
Hmm.
the way we learn is we say, I first identify my Atma, right?
Hmm.
Then we say that my Atma is the one which is not this body, not this mind, you know, neti neti, nothing. That's my Atma. Then we say there is a Brahman, and that Brahman is the essence of everything there is. That, we used to have that prakriya where we said, if you look at something, that's not the substance. Like we said, you take a bangle, a gold bangle. Gold is the substance. Bangle is the form. Then you said gold is also not a substance because gold is made of atoms and molecules. So they are the substance. Gold is just a form. Then you said atom and molecules are also made of something else. Those are the substance, right? And then you finally said,
Hmm.
no, Brahman is the substance.
Hmm.
And then we said this Atma and that Brahman is one and the same. That's the traditional way of teaching Vedanta. First, you
Yeah.
identify and show how you are the Atma. Then you identify and show how the world is Brahman. And then you say that Tat, that essence of the world, and Tvam, that essence of you, are the same. Tattvamasi. Right? This is different.
Right.
This is saying, um, this is not talking about the world at all. It's just saying, it's saying there is a there is a you inside you, which is the Atma, the seer, the knower, the Kshetragya. And oh, by the way, you thought it's you, it's actually me. Krishna Bhagavan is saying, I am the knower
Hmm.
inside all of us.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's a slightly different, but it gives you a little different flavor. It directly tells you, directly without anything else. It's like a direct confirmation that the me that I think is me, truly, which is, if I knock everything off and say, this is the me, Bhagwan is saying that me is actually me, not you. Right? So
Hmm.
it's like, okay, that kind of thing. So a slightly different way of looking at it, but I think an interesting way of seeing it. It becomes interesting because we know this. If we hadn't known this already, if we were coming fresh, this would have been a difficult thing to grasp, right? But still, it's interesting.
Hmm.
You get the difference, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
After this now, and I'll show you some of the shloks, but I wanted to take you through this. After this, he says, let's expand this idea of Kshetra, because right now he's only saying Kshetra is the body, and the Kshetragya is me, Ishwar, or you, same thing. You, me, same thing. The knower is there is one knower. You can think of it as you can think of it as me. But the Kshetra is the body right now. It's saying not just the body, everything around the body is also Kshetra. So Kshetra is your mind, starting from your mind, the vrittis in your mind. Even Vedanta is a vritti, that is also a Kshetra. The body, subtle body, the physical body, and this whole world around. Everything you see, the trees, the mountains, the work going on, the entire Virat, the entire Hiranyagarbha, everything is Kshetra. So now he's done two things here. First, he said he's expanded this to say you are the knower of the Kshetra. That means you are the knower of all of these things, and that is true. If I have to learn about something outside, or if I have to see something outside, who is it that sees? Not my eyes. It's the knower that sees, right? It's the Kshetragya who sees. So he says the field, the thing to be known is not just your body. The thing to be known is everything. And the knower is Kshetragya, that's me. So that's the first thing he's done. The second thing he has done implicitly is he has put the body and our subtle body and our mind and our emotions in the same place as the rest of the world. There is no difference. what he's trying to say is, let's say you have emotions and you have thoughts. Now you think it's my thoughts, it's me, this is me. It's saying no, and this is Kshetra. You are the Kshetragya. All these thoughts have come from the world around us. Everything that you see, what you called yours, which is your body, your mind, which is all part of Kshetra now. And that Kshetra is one big Kshetra. Your body is part and parcel of that big Kshetra, which is the whole world around us. It's all not you. So another term that Swamiji uses for Kshetragya and Kshetra is Atma and Anatma. So Atma is the Kshetragya, Anatma is that which is not you. So he's saying everything else is not you. Only the Kshetragya is you. So don't identify yourself with your thoughts, with your emotions, with your moods, with your mental state, with your physical state, or with the world around you, because they are all Kshetra. I mean, I'm sure you knew this already, but he has, like, hammered it in. like he's made sure that you don't forget. You understand?
But is it practically possible not to identify yourself with your body, mind, thoughts,
No,
and just identify yourself with the Atma?
no. So again, good question. Glad you brought it up. So when you say
Mhm.
practically possible, you're saying living in this world. Can you do
Living
it?
in this world.
No,
Yeah.
you cannot. That is why what Vedant says is there is a Vyavaharika Satyam, a Vyavaharika
Mhm.
reality.
Mhm.
And you have to identify yourself with your body, with your mind, with your thoughts. You have to work on your thoughts. You have to work on purifying your thoughts. You have to do everything you have to do. You have to take care of your family. That you have to do for living while you're living. But deep inside you, you have to know that you are playing a role. It's a role you have to play. You don't have a choice. You cannot disidentify yourself with your body. You cannot. But the knowledge is there that in reality, the me is nothing but Kshetragya. So what you do is essentially the way Vedant puts it is that you have said that there are two things, Satyam and Mithya. All this identification that I do with everything around me, that is all Mithya. And there is a Satyam. Now, when you live in this world day to day, you have to use Mithya. Mithya is what is handy for you. But when you go to bed at night, remember, you are Satyam. Because one day this is all going to go. You're going to die too. If you identify so strongly with all these things without understanding what's behind it, you will be scared and like all the time. You'll be full of fear, and there is no reason for it because in reality you are Shretagnya. You are playing a role which you have to play, which you must play. You've been given this life for experience. You're enjoying that experience. You cannot experience this life if you are not part identifying with your body and your emotions. That is how experience is. This body is given for experience. So you have to do it. But deep inside you, you have to know the truth. So that there is deep inside, there is detachment. And it will happen automatically. You just keep, this is the way of Vedant. You keep listening to Vedant. You keep doing Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasnam. And you keep doing Karam Yoga, which you are already doing. You will get there. Even today, if somebody was to put a gun to your head and say, Sanjay, what are you exactly? Tell me at the end of it, what are you? Everything will be washed away and you will say, I'm Shretagnya. I mean, that's my feeling. What will happen? If it doesn't happen, it will happen soon. But that is Vedanta. So you know the Paramarthic truth and you know the Vyavaharik truth. And you willingly and happily live in Vyavahar. You willingly and happily say, this is my body. This is my mind. This is what I am. You willingly and happily experience everything around you. It's like going to a movie. But you also know that this is mithya, that the reality of you is Atma, Kshetragya. And that is what brings detachment. That is what brings vairagyam, all the things that you talk about, vivek. Vivek is this knowing is vivek. Knowing that the field, the Kshetra is mithya and the Kshetragya is satyam. This knowledge is what's called vivek. And vivek brings vairagyam, right? Automatically. And, and mumukshutva, which is the other part of, the four qualifications, is automatic, is there. Once you know these things, then mumukshutva is automatic. Once you know that there is satyam, you want to know more about the satyam. You love to hear about it because you know that's you. So that brings mumukshutva. And the Shat Sampatti also the same thing. Shat Sampatti is all the Karam Yoga and all the things you have to do, controlling your temper, all this becomes easy because ये तो छोटी सी चीज है. What I'm after is a big thing. This is a small little thing. I'll gladly do whatever is needed to discipline my mind so that I can focus on what is really important. Rajiv?
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about, understanding versus living the truth, right?
Hmm.
And I think understanding is actually, where I am and where I think all of us are. I think we can understand the difference between the real me and the body mind complex, right? And we can also understand, that we are part of the bigger universe and the body and mind. I mean, I think that's easily graspable given our background. Um, my struggle on a day-to-day basis is while I know my real me, it's actually very easy to go back and get sucked back into the body mind challenges of the day and so forth, right? Um, Even though you continue to train your mind to um, you know the control of your mind and your senses, right? I think that I find extremely hard because
Yeah.
when reality happens, your natural gut reaction, or the deep wounds, or whatever you
Right,
want
right,
to
right,
call
right.
it, right? And just trying to work to recover from that. I mean, there are days when I sleep extremely well because I think through the process, and it's like you you look at your troubles of the day and you say this is all nonsense, this is not me, right? And you get a very good night's sleep, and then the next day you go to work and you're all getting pulled off in different directions, and then you kind of fall into the same trap.
Hmm.
Whether it's money, whether
Right,
it's
right, right.
Wall Street,
Hmm.
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely.
And then you go through a couple of days of that, and then you rationalize again. Well, heck, what am I doing here again, right?
So
So
I
yeah,
want to ask you a question. Maybe I want to see whether I can put it, what you're saying, let me put it this way, because I want to make sure that you understood the intent of this chapter. I think what you're saying is, it's not that these things are not you. This body is not you, to Sanjay's question. It's not that this mind is not you. It's ahamkar, right? Ahamkar means
yeah,
the eye maker. This is me. What Krishna Bhagavan is telling Arjun is that it is you, but it is mithya.
yeah.
There is a satyam underlying all of this. That satyam is the Kshetragya. So, are you saying that when you are sitting here chatting with us, or on few days when your mind is very clear, you realize that there is a mithya part and there's a satyam part, and you see the difference.
Yes, I
But
do.
other days you forget the satyam and you think mithya is satyam. The reason I'm
Well,
saying it,
yeah, I mean, I
let me tell
think,
you why I'm saying this.
you spend more time in, trying to, you know, trying to live in the physical world, right?
And nothing
And
wrong in
you get
that.
it.
That's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
tell you.
yeah, yeah,
That is what you have to do. Nobody is saying that you should not live in the physical world. You're in a competitive field. You should be competitive. You know, you should be successful. You should make sure that you're smart in relationship with your family. You are smart in relationship with your employees and your bosses. Where you have to do makhanbazi, you do makhanbazi. Where you have to, whatever you do, whatever is necessary in this world to do. It is to say that those things I want to give up. That was the confusion that Arjun had. अर्जुन भगवान को कहता था कि देखो याद है आई वांट टू बी अ सन्यासी व्हाई डोंट यू लेट मी बी अ
yeah,
सन्यासी
yeah.
राइट मैं तो ये कुछ नहीं करना चाहता इसमें कुछ नहीं है आई वांट टू गो आफ्टर नॉलेज एंड कृष्ण भगवान यूज्ड टू कीप टेलिंग हिम भाई दैट इज नॉट नॉलेज giving up this world and saying I'm not going to live in this world and I'm not going to operate by the laws of this world is not knowledge. Knowledge is doing all these things knowing fully well that there's a real you which is not actually doing them. Right? So in other words, doing everything that you need to do, but knowing that that is mithya. That the results of that are not what is going to make you happy. You're doing them because that's a preference. That's the life you've been given. That's what you're supposed to do. That is your prarabdha. And it gives you joy to do all these things also. But your true, real happiness and contentment needs to come from a different source. And that is your knowledge that deep down you are
Yeah.
complete. Right? When you forget this, that deep down you're complete, and you forget this part of the knowledge, you forget the satyam, which is already there with you, and you fall back into thinking that all the things I'm doing, that is the source of my happiness and sorrow alone. That is the problem. So if, for example, you're saying, and I'm understanding that you're saying that's what happens. That sometimes
Yeah, so the thing is,
you
because
forget.
if you don't believe that you're Satyam, and the mind will sort of gravitate more towards the Mithya part, right?
Right.
And that develops fears and
Yes, yes, yes,
uncertainties and
yes.
unknowns, right? And then but because you have this knowledge now, right? You can bring that home, and the mental debate always is, well, why do I get worried about X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Because this is all mithya,
So
right?
this
And
is
so when you
actually
reconcile that, then you
okay.
feel good, right? So there's some wonderful string of days that go like that, right? But then you come back again sometimes to the same circumstances and end up being gullible to the same fears, right? So I think this is a process, like you said.
Yes.
It's
Well, not
we
just
have
that.
been.
Let me
Yeah,
interrupt you there because
yeah,
I
sure.
will tell you now that I've understood what you're saying
Yeah,
fully. I want to make sure I should have actually paid you for it because this is the ideal segue into the next part of chapter 13, which
right.
is what is jnanam. What is jnanam? He says jnanam is not in this chapter 13. He doesn't define jnanam as knowledge. He defines jnanam as what is needed for knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
What are the means to knowledge? And he talks about values.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about what we need to do as human beings to make sure that the knowledge is sound.
Yeah.
So exactly because this is exactly what happens. Like you said, we know this. Sometimes we know, most of the times we forget. Why is that? Right? And pull up the uh, let me share this with you. You can see it, right?
Yeah.
So this was, we started chapter 13 with this Mahavakya thing. Arjun first asked all this Prakriti Purusha, etc. And then Bhagwan said, this body is called the field. The one who knows the field is the knower of the field. And then he says, may you know me as a knower of the body in all bodies. This was the Mahavakya. And then he goes on to say, this Kshetra, what is the Kshetra, etc. In many ways, it's sung by, and this says the five subtle elements, the Hiranyagarbha, the Samashta Buddhi, the unmanifest cause, physical cognition, all of these things are Sattva, is Kshetra. That's what he's saying, right? Which we went through. Then he says, what do we need to understand this Kshetra? And this 13.7 to 13.11 are the qualities, he said, which we need to inculcate in ourselves if we want this knowledge to have a sound footing. Without these qualities, there will not be a sound footing. And we all have these issues and problems. So he's talking about amanitvam, absence of conceit, right? Absence of pretension, which is adambhitvam. Then ahimsa, which is not hurting, ahimsa here. And then shanti, which is accommodation. It's kshanti, not shanti. It's different. Kshanti is having an accommodating mind. You don't get, you allow people to do bad things to you. It doesn't matter. Arjavam means straightforwardness. Then acharya upasanam, that means service to the teacher, which is another way of saying shraddha for the teacher and for the teaching. Shaucham is inner and outer purity. Stharyam, so stharyam is steadfastness. And Atma Vinigraha means mastery over the mind. So, and then he continues from here, and I'm going to spend time on this. We'll go through this together because this is very important in my view. But I want to take you through the whole of them first, just so you have a full picture, and then we will go to each. Then he said, Indriyartheshu vairagyam. That means dispassion towards sense objects. Okay? Then ahankara, meaning the opposite of ahankara, absence of pride. And then he says, Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha dosha anudarshanam. That means seeing clearly the defects and the dukkha in birth, death, old age, and disease. Okay, I'll explain these. Maybe not very clear. Then the next one is asakti. Asakti means absence of sense of ownership. Then is very interesting. Then he says, Anabhish Vanga Putra Dara Grihadishu. So Putra, Dara, and Grihad is Putra is son, Dar is wife or spouse, you can say. Griha is your house. And Anabhishvanga, that means the lack of obsession. So Bhishvanga would be obsession. So absence of obsession towards son, wife, house, and those kinds of things and the like. Then Samachittatvam Ishta Nishta Upapattishu. That means having the evenness of mind regarding gain of the desired and the not desired. That means like whether you've gained something or not, something you desired has happened or not happened, having an evenness around that. So you'll see these qualities become deeper and deeper. In the beginning, it's all like absence of conceit, pretension, like very surface things. And then he goes deeper, and then he goes deeper. And then he goes deeper still. He says another thing is an unswerving devotion to me. Mai cha ananya yogena. That means an unswerving devotion to me that is not connected to anything else, ananya. The disposition of repairing to a quiet place. You wanted to go to you want to go to a quiet place. No longing for the company of people. Of course, don't take it literally. Okay, it doesn't mean that you have no longing. These have to be explained and unfolded. So otherwise, you'll say, okay, I should just be secluded somewhere all the time. And then he goes even deeper. He says, always dwelling upon the knowledge centered on the self, always thinking about Satyam and Mithya, keeping in view the purpose of knowledge of the truth. That means knowing why this knowledge is important. What's the purpose of it? And that is nothing but mumukshutva, knowing the fruits of this knowledge, knowing why that's important. This was told is the means to knowledge. So you need all these things are means to knowledge. And what is opposite to this is ignorance. And this itself is actually a very interesting line, because as Swamiji explains it, he says, when you are just part of samsara, what you will be is the opposite of the above. That is ignorance, because you have ignorance. So you will find yourself doing exactly the opposite. That is natural. You will be full of conceit. You will have pretensions. You will show off. You will hurt people if you feel that they are hurting you. You will hurt them. You will not accommodate anything against you. उसने मुझे कहा, I will show him. Right? You will not be straightforward. You will lie. You will not have service to the teacher. You'll be looking at a transactional relationship with the teacher. Okay, I'm paying him this much and the teacher is teaching me this. What's in it for me? What's in it for him? You will not have inner and outer priority. You will not have steadfastness. You will not have mastery over your mind. Your mind will be wandering wherever the desires are taking it. This is what he's saying, is what is opposite is ignorance. And we have ignorance when we are born. We come out of ignorance. So these are natural. It's the most natural thing in the world to say, to do all these, to not do all these things, and to feel what Rajiv just mentioned, which is, okay, I know this knowledge, I understand it, but right away, soon, I go back into my old ways, right? It is the most natural thing in the world. That's what he's trying to say. And actually, Swamiji spent a lot of time explaining this. एक छोटी सी line है, what is opposite is ignorance.
Yeah.
But it holds a lot of meaning here. Till we have proper knowledge, these are the things we will do. So, what I want to do, approach this in a slightly different way. Rather than go through each one, which I will, we are not going to leave this till we have fully understood all of this. This might take another session or so. What I want to do is to go to what is beneath all this. What is underneath all this? Why are these things important for knowledge? Why is it that when these things are there, I go back to my old ways, and when these things are not there, my knowledge is firm? Why do we say this? Right? So I'm going to shut this for now. Any quick question or?
No, one thing.
Yeah.
The last line says, always dwelling upon knowledge centered on the self.
Yes.
That means your mind is rooted on the self.
Yes.
It's thinking about it. It's
Yes.
thinking about the knowledge what you have gained.
Yes.
But is there a way to connect with the self?
See, you're always connected to the self. There is never a time when you're not connected to the self. What we have is, जैसे कहते हैं ना, there's a light burning, a lamp is burning, उसके ऊपर हमने चद्दर रख दी है. उसके ऊपर चद्दर रख दी है तो हमको लैंप तो दिख नहीं रहा. So you say, oh, it's too dark. Can you please switch on the lamp? Because I want to connect with the light. You can't do that. The light is already there. What you have to do is to remove the chaddar of ignorance. You remove it and the light will be clear. You remove the ignorance from yourself. Ignorance is what? All these things, the opposite of this. You remove it and the light will be clear. It will be evident to you. The reason why it's not evident is because the light is covered by a sheet. And you're saying, oh, I need to connect with the light, right? Light is already there. Yourself is already there. You don't have to do any yoga. You don't have to do any sort of, nidhi dhyas. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do any upasana. Nothing. The self is already connected. The reason why you do all these things, nidhi dhyasana, upasana, etc., and all these things he's talking about, is to remove ignorance. That is what you do. To remove ignorance. And part of the removal of ignorance comes from, I'm talking to you, I'm telling you, Bhagwan Krishna is telling Arjun, listening to the Gita, understanding intellectually, that is part of the removal of ignorance. But that removes the ignorance for a minute or two, here and there. For it to be properly removed, you have to do these things, because there's an emotional reason why it's not removed. And that's what I want to discuss with you also. But I think the thing you have to understand, and that has to be very clear, Sanjay, is that, see, there are a lot of philosophies which say yoga philosophy in particular. It says if you control your mind, if you control the vrittis in your mind, let's say you come to a state of nivritti, there is no vritti, then the self will shine through. This is pretty much the language that they use. The self will shine through. And you have to connect to the self. कहते हैं ईश्वर प्राप्ति. And the reason why Vedant is sort of this such an important philosophy in India is because it goes one step beyond. You have to do the things which yoga says you should do. You have to do them not to connect to the self, but to remove ignorance. The connection to the self is purely knowledge. In other words, you have to begin to see the same things you will see. Same things, but you will see them differently. That's all. And you see them differently because you never saw the Satyam. You never thought there was a Satyam, and now you're able to see that actually it is Satyam. Everything is Satyam. I'll give you an example for this. This might help you. This is an example from one of the lectures of Swami Paramarthananda. And I may have even asked you this. He said, you put your hand in front of you and tell me what you see. So he asked his class. They said, oh, I see a hand with 5 fingers. He said, what more do you see? He said, I see some lines on the hand, like a palmer sees. What more? He says, I see some dust, dirt. I see some dead skin. Then turn around, I see the nails. I see some hair. I see some scalus, those hote hain. What else do you see? So maybe I can't see, but there is bacteria there. I know there's bacteria there in my hand. Says, what else do you see? So karta gaya. So people kept saying, and then finally they said, we give up. We can't see anything else. So he said, कितनी बार भी मैं तुमसे पूछूं कि तुमको हाथ में क्या दिखता है? One thing, which is the most essential thing to see the hand, you will never say, and that's light. When you're seeing your hand, you're seeing light. Can you see your hand in darkness? You can't. You don't see, you take that light for granted. You are not aware. You think all there is the hand. And then he said, not just is light on the hand, light is everywhere. Wherever you take your hand, you'll see, because there light is. If you go to a spot where there is no light, you won't see the hand at all. So now I ask you, you say, oh, but I want to see light. You can't see light. Because if you take the hand away, you can see only darkness, nothing. Let's say you're in a dark room. If you take the objects away, you can't see light. But light is there. And when you put the objects in the front of the light, you see the object, not the light. So are you convinced, Sanjay, that when you're seeing the hand, you're seeing light? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Doubt? Do you have any doubt? You won't. Because it's knowledge. You know that there is light. That's why I see the hand. But if you say, I want to connect with the light, I want to experience light, you can't experience light. But you know it is light. And that's what I'm telling you. Or Gita is telling you. मैं कौन होता हूँ? Bhagwan Krishna is telling you. That when you see anything, it's consciousness. When you experience anything at all, it's because there is consciousness that you experience. If you had no consciousness, would you ever experience anything? Can you experience anything without consciousness? So, and that consciousness is what? It's you. When you experience something sad, consciousness. When you experience something happy, consciousness. When you see an object, consciousness. When you hear something, consciousness. When you experience fear, consciousness. When you listen to Vedant, consciousness. There is never a time in your life that consciousness has not been present. But it's like light. It is so fundamental that usko experience करने के लिए क्या करेगा? You need consciousness to experience consciousness. Right? How will you experience consciousness? this is not rocket science. This is not any, you don't need to go into some trance to understand this. This is simple logic. And the problem is twofold. One, most people are not interested in understanding this. They are more interested in the hand than in the light, right? So they want to know, how can I get more wealth? How can I get more whatever? They are least interested in, oh, consciousness, you are behind all this. They are not interested because they think that their pleasures, that their success, that their happiness will come from those things, those objects which they are seeing in the consciousness. What they don't realize is that the consciousness itself is the source of happiness. That is what you have to see. If you understand that completely, that your consciousness is the source of happiness and not the objects, you're done. So, because of that, because they don't understand it, and they continuously say they chase the world, then a time comes when they have changed everything and they realize कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा, I'm still at the same place. अभी भी मैं दुखी हूँ. After doing all this chasing, I've achieved this much, I've got this also, I've got this also. Still I'm unhappy and still I'm afraid of death. Still I'm, stressful. Still I'm full of anxiety. Then they say, okay, maybe there's something else. Then they'll go to a guru and the guru will say, okay, try to understand Vedanta. Then he's ready, that person is ready at least to say, okay, let me hear something alternate. That this thing which has never given me happiness, you're telling me is not the source of happiness. That makes sense now. Because I realized through my own experience that, yeah, I can get temporary happiness there, but eventually koi fark nahi pad raha. So now I'm willing, open-minded. I have Acharya Upasana, what it says there. I have Shraddha. I will listen to what you have to say. And then the teaching starts making sense to that person. That the happiness is your nature. And it has to be unfolded over time. That Ananda Mimamsa Vedid. And you have to, you listen to the same teaching again and again and again, and every time you will get more out of it. Every time you'll think it's a different teaching. You'll understand a little bit more. But you have to keep listening to the teaching. And the teacher will also tell you, at the same time, you have to do some sadhana. Because your mind is, although you realize, a part of you realizes that happiness doesn't come from external items, but your mind has habits. So, in spite of knowing, you still run after those things. So you have to do sadhana. You have to do a little control of yourself. And he'll give you the sadhanas too. And these things over here, all of these, they are at different levels of sadhana. And over time, by the action of both the things, your sadhanas and the knowledge, Shravanam Mananam Nididhyasnam, this knowledge that you keep getting, you're reading, you're getting close to Vedanta all the time, continuously hearing the words and doing sadhana, that's when you slowly change. That's the process. Sanjay, you follow?
Yeah.
मुक्ता राजीव,
वर्बली फॉलो तो हो जाता है, थॉट प्रोसेस में भी फॉलो हो जाता है,
हाँ,
बट व्हेन वी कम टू द प्रैक्टिकल सिचुएशंस वहां फॉलो नहीं हो पाता, वो प्रॉब्लम होती
yes. So this chapter 13 is great for that.
है.
Because when we talk about all of these things and we unfold these, you will see why and how. So I have a question for you. What I'm going to take you through will take 10, 15, 20 minutes. Do you want to do this next time? Because I know, Sanjay, you must be tired. I mean, you said
Well,
you're
next time.
Next time?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So then let's take the next 10 minutes to see if there's any other question. So let me tell you what I'm going to do next time then, or what we should do so that you are prepared for it. What I want to do is to understand why these things are important. And at the base of this is our ego, our concept of ourselves. And to see how over time our concept of ourselves changes. Okay. Okay. So we have 10 minutes if you have any questions or whatever else. Mukta, how are you feeling, by the way? You're on mute. Mukta, you're on mute. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine, absolutely fine now. No issues. Just some things kept me delayed.
No, that's
I
okay.
know. Uh, yeah,
But
I'm good.
back to normal.
Yeah. Yeah, back to normal, absolutely. So I
You were sick
listened
or what?
to, yeah, cold, cough, fever,
Cold cough
all that
है।
stuff.
वो तो
Antibiotics खा
आजकल
लिए.
बहुत है कोल्ड का फीवर।
Uh,
चलो
हो गया अब तो 2-3 दिन से ठीक चल रहा है.
ठीक है ठीक है।
Hmm.
Surprisingly, last 10-15 days I had lot of corona cases, loss of smell and taste.
Oh,
हम्म।
I was also
So,
fearing कि हो सकता है कोविड
हाँ
ही हो, पता
resurgence
नहीं,
हो रही
बट
है थोड़ी।
तो टेस्ट करवाए थे उनके,
नहीं
जो
नहीं
पता लगा
जस्ट
कि
हम
कोरोना है.
लॉस टेस्ट करवाते ही नहीं, मैं बोलता भी हूँ
आजकल कोई
फिर उससे हो जाता है.
but their prominent complaint was loss of smell and taste.
ओके, या
So from that I guessed they are all corona carriers, corona patients.
या
Mukta, you were going to say something? You said you listened to.
Yeah, I listened to the last time's recording, last session's recording also. थोड़ा सा समझने में टाइम लगा पूरी तरह. अभी भी I'll have to listen to it one more time because I
Yeah.
listened to it today only in the morning.
Actually, you listen to today's recording because I think we've covered
दोनों, हाँ,
what we said pretty much today.
yeah,
And I would suggest to
today.
Sanjay and Rajiv also listen to today's recording because I think you will begin to understand it slowly once you listen to it again. That's my feeling, and it's a
Yeah,
really
yeah.
important. Today's was an important part of the teaching.
बाकी
I think
थोड़ा सा
I'm looking forward to your review of, each and everything you showed on the page because, we talked about Antkarna Shuddhi, we talked about meditation, right? We talked about all these things, but I think bringing it all home, I think we have a very good summary. So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to more discussion there because for me, that's the challenge, right? Is a couple of days are really good because you're not bothered about what used to bother you before, and your mind is like, okay, this is the, you're debating internal debate among with yourself that, oh, am I veering towards the same old stuff, or am I grounded in reality, who's the real me, right? But then you go this way, you go that way, and I think that's what needs strengthening.
Yeah, no, it'll be very interesting. It is. I mean, I found it very interesting. In fact, this is the only place in the Gita where it has been nicely summarized the values that you need to have. Basically, he's taken Antakarna Shuddhi and decomposed it
Yeah, exactly.
into its elements.
Yeah.
This is what Antakarna Shuddhi actually means. And it comes back again in the 18th chapter and all, and sometimes in the 16th, 17th also, because they talk about, they relate it to Sattva and Rajas and all. What is Sattvic puja and what is Rajasic puja and Tamasic, things like that. But this is a nice summary. So we will go through it.
Yeah, it seems more practical and more.
But I think you should. The fact that you're asking this question should give you hope because that is it. You are trying, and I mean, I assure you that you will change. It's not. There's nothing. No magic formula or magic chemical here. Nothing is lacking. You have intent. You have desire to change. You have knowledge. You can see yourself. You're not deluded. You can see that you're going back there. So, some people don't even realize, वो समझते हैं कि नहीं मैं तो साधु हूँ. And they don't even know when they are getting trapped in samsara. You are not like that. So that is the important thing. The rest of it is just, what to do with the mind, which is you got habits from so long.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
be kind to yourself. ये इसमें जो स्वामी दयानंद कह रहे हैं कि जो शंकराचार्य की सबसे फेमस सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट जो थी ना इन सारी वैल्यूज में, he spent a lot of time on kshanti. Kshanti is accommodation. Accommodate other people's faults. don't kind of be intolerant of others. Tolerance. अगर लोग कुछ गलत काम कर रहे हैं तो कोई बात नहीं, तुम्हारे लिए तुम्हारे ऊपर भी गलत कर रहा कोई बात नहीं. कहते इट्स लाइक ही गिव एन एग्जांपल ऑफ अ चाइल्ड. A little child will kick the father. मारेगा. Father will never get upset with a little child, a little infant. पैर मार रहा है, वो father को मारेगा, उससे father will not get upset. Father will have immense tolerance for a young little child, out of love and because knowledge. You know that this guy knows he's doing what he does. So to know, and he said to have tolerance for others, you have to have tolerance for yourself. So when you find yourself going back into the same old habits, don't let that upset you. Have tolerance for you're knowledgeable. Think about it. You have a knowledgeable self which has knowledge, and there's another self which gets carried away. So have tolerance for the self that gets carried away. As long as you're able to see all that and you're not deluding yourself, let it take its time. So it's a very important value, this tolerance value. He just picked this one up and specially emphasized it. So that's why I thought I'll tell you, because I think that'll be helpful to you.
Yeah, Dheeraj, this is actually what I call is personality of zero reaction.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, whatever situation comes, whatever happens, whatever samsara gives you, whatever, you have to try to be at the zero level. Then I think you really have learned Vedanta and how to deal with life.
But to be at zero level,
बहुत बड़ी बात करी है.
to be at zero level is not possible without being a jnani, without the end.
Yeah.
But if you're at 10% level, that is good enough.
That is what I am aiming for.
Yeah.
I'm nowhere near it, but
no.
That's what I usually tell myself. But you have to be at zero level all the time.
No. I think what you have to tell yourself is try your best, and as long as you're improving, right, be happy. You have to tell yourself, be happy. Don't put so much pressure on yourself that you are becoming miserable. I'm not saying
not putting pressure. Not putting pressure.
That is important.
You have to bring a lot of awareness to get to that goal.
Yeah. I mean, even Vedanta says that all these values, you can do some relative you can rise a little bit relatively. You can bring them in your life to some extent. And till you bring them in your life to some extent, you won't get any benefit from knowledge. So what happens is you bring them up by sadhana, by will. Then you start getting more benefit from knowledge. And then knowledge takes you further up. Because at the end of the day, it is not by willpower, you cannot have zero reaction. You cannot say, I will sustain this by willpower for the rest of my life. You need
willpower will only come through knowledge only. It cannot come like that.
Yes.
See? Yes. Either you are being too stubborn or something to develop that willpower. That's a different thing. That's a different angle. See?
Yeah. No, agreed.
So and one more personal thing which I wanted to share on this platform was when I keep listening to all these Vedanta lectures, your lectures, other lectures, your thought process changes and your day-to-day routines, the way you respond or react to them is very different from me. When I say I have a gap of about a week, I didn't get connected with Vedanta, didn't listen to all these lectures. So my reaction in that period is very different from the reaction when I am in touch with Vedanta.
What about you? You guys, others also feel that way?
I do. I do. I feel like if I'm not in proximity or interacting with Vedanta and hearing things, it's the weight of the burdens kind of become heavier, right? So you learn about you go back to the basics and you say, okay, this is how I should be behaving, or this is how I should be thinking actually, and it brings a lot of peace and a lot of
Good.
closure, and things that were bothering you don't bother you anymore. So yeah, that it's
That's
certainly
why I think that's
connection
why
with
they say
Vedanta
you
is
should be
very
in
important.
constant, the Shravanam should be a constant thing in your life. Just like, other sadhanas are constant, this sadhana also should go on all the time. Mukta, you also feel that way?
Not in, I cannot put it in words like this. Ki I feel uh, just the way Rajiv is saying or Sanjay is saying. But I feel that uh, over time, very slowly, my personality is changing
Hmm.
little by little. I don't feel कि मैंने सुना नहीं है तो मतलब अब मेरे अंदर वो कम because there was a gap of 15 days right just 2 days back से पहले 15-20 दिन
Hmm.
मैंने I was simply not connected to
Hmm.
Vedanta
Hmm.
but ऐसे मैं ओवरटली मैंने उसको उस तरह से रिलेट नहीं किया कि भाई मेरे को कोई प्रॉब्लम हो रही है या नहीं हो रही है आई वॉज माई नॉर्मल सेल्फ
Yeah.
whatever way I am but yes there are things there are changes in my thinking very subtle though not major change I cannot pinpoint major changes but subtle changes yes at times when I sit down and think and then I say yeah I have become more tolerant
Or we'll go through,
uh,
you'll see on all of those points. Amanatvam, amanatvam means मान होता है ना, मान सम्मान. So
mm,
मान का उल्टा है, manitvam means somebody who wants मान सम्मान. Amanitvam means
mm,
someone who doesn't want मान सम्मान. You'll see even there, for example, you'll see a change in yourself. Like the opinion of others used to matter a lot more at one time. Now
yeah
it doesn't matter that much. In all of these values, you will see a change. And that's why I wanted to spend time with all of them, because you can then
yeah
just see, it's very interesting.
I agree with you because now that you're saying and I'm thinking तो वो है कि हर चीज में सटल सटल चेंजेस है
Yeah.
बाकी मैं इस बारे में ज्यादा मैंने कभी थॉट नहीं दिया
But आप ये सोचो, आप
जैसे
हर हर हफ्ते यहाँ पे, हर 2 हफ्ते में आते हो यहाँ पे विदाउट फेल, इन आवर क्लास, इन आवर
हम्म
सेशन. You listen to
हम्म
Sarpriyananda all the time. Whenever
या
you have time, your involvement in Vedanta has not died down over time,
या या
right? That means
दैट्स ट्रू
something you're getting out of it. Otherwise, why would you do it?
या दैट्स ट्रू
So,
Yeah, in my
इनफैक्ट
case, I can say I actually reach out for it, and when I'm
yeah.
feeling,
ओके
a little challenged, and try
हम्म
to connect to something that would, change
In
my
my case,
thinking
so
or
I
behavior.
can't, I don't think of any time when I've not been connected. I mean, it's like, because I don't have to, for me now, I don't have to listen to a lecture.
Lecture, yeah.
Right?
या
I can, I've, I just think, something will pop up, which I've read
I
or heard, and I can see that happening in life. I see the,
I just wanted to share one experience.
yeah.
It's just a little on the tangent from what we are talking.
Mhm.
Abhi yesterday only, somehow my husband he had played the old Mahabharata serial which we used to watch
Right, yeah,
in 85, 86,
yeah.
87.
Yeah.
वो एक एपिसोड इन्होंने ऐसे ही यूट्यूब पे बैठे बैठे पता नहीं क्या कर रहे थे इन्होंने चला दिया and it happened in that episode
Gita,
Krishna was talking to uh, what's his name the
Arjun.
Arjun.
no, Duryodhan's father
Oh, Dhritarashtra.
हाँ धृतराष्ट्र मतलब उसका वो चल रहा है जो क्या होता है उसका दरबार है
Hmm.
उस दरबार में वो सारे भीष्म पितामह एंड एवरीबॉडी इज देयर एंड
Hmm.
तो इसमें मेनली कृष्णा दूत बन के आए हैं पांडवास के कि मतलब लड़ाई वगैरह नहीं करो हमें आधा राज्य दे दो नहीं तो सिर्फ 5 गांव दे दो
Right, exactly.
एंड हाउ दुर्योधन रिएक्ट्स टू इट
Yeah.
एंड देन हाउ he all the dialogues that Krishna was saying. Now when I was listening to it, उसका एक अलग से एक डिफरेंट वे में मीनिंग दिमाग में उसका डेप्थ आ रही थी जो पहले कभी नहीं आई थी
Yeah.
Yeah, and now I had that feeling कि I want to watch that whole thing again.
Yeah, you should. It's like
Yeah,
if you're looking at modern art, most people when you look, हमको तो कुछ दिखता ही नहीं है. But when you're educated on it, you know the nuances, then you can enjoy that art, right?
yeah, I really like that.
You're like that now.
Whatever he was saying and उसका मीनिंग ही कुछ और निकल रहा था जो वो वर्ड्स जो बोल रहे थे जो नॉर्मली हमें समझ आते थे और जो अब समझ आ रहे थे तो इट वाज
So different.
डिफरेंट या
वो तो इवन आप वैसे महाभारत देखो, कृष्ण के एक एक डायलॉग के अंदर इतना सार छुपा हुआ है,
या
एक एक लाइन के अंदर आप देखोगे देयर इज सो मच नॉलेज
वो
इन.
अब समझ आता है ना, तब नहीं आता
हाँ,
था जब जब देखा था
मंदिर क्या
तब
जाने
नहीं
अमृत
आता
का
था.
स्वाद, राइट? हमको क्या पता
या
था.
अब वही तो कह रही हूँ, बाई चांस ऐसा एपिसोड था कि वो ऐसे ही चल गया था समझ लो टीवी पे. इन्होंने पता नहीं क्या कर रहे थे, चला दिया, देखना शुरू कर दिया, मैं भी बैठ गई. तो
नहीं, तब हम देखते थे एंटरटेनमेंट के एंगल से,
या
अब हम देख रहे हैं ज्ञान के एंगल से. ठीक है, तो वो
एग्जैक्टली.
दो डिफरेंट कानों से और आंखों से देख रहे हैं ना.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. दैट आउटलुक हैज चेंज्ड इफ नथिंग
आउटलुक इज
एल्स.
चेंज, या आउटलुक इज चेंज.
Okay,
चलो.
good. So
या
please listen to this at least once.